Hey guys, this is Maliha from the Side Blogger, and today I have another Canva tutorial. So today is not about a Canva feature or functionality or anything like that. It's something that I've been meaning to show because I have been asked this question by some people. It is how I create my Instagram posts, Instagram slider posts, where each slide blends into the other seamlessly. So what do I mean by that? This is a screen capture of one of my Instagram posts. It's not a story, it's not a reel, it's not even a video, it's just a static post, a slider post. It has more than one images in one post. Um, but I made a video of it so you can see what it looks like. So check it out. See, it's sliding. I'm going from one image to the next, but it's seamless. If you look at it, the lines, the shapes, they go from one slide to the next, and it looks as if it's one long image, even though it has multiple images. So just to show you one more time, pay attention. The shapes are going from one to the next seamlessly. So are the top and bottom lines. And this effect creates an um, interesting way to look at these slides. And sometimes for businesses especially, this can create a nice branding element for you. So I wanted to show you how I make these slides that look like they are seamlessly going from one slide to the next, even though they are separate images. But when you upload them on Instagram, they look like it's one long image. Now, Instagram doesn't allow you to upload a long image like that once. It has to be like separate images. But how do you do that? How do you make sure that they look so beautifully seamless as if they were one image? So that's what I will show you today. And I will keep this simple. I will probably create maybe 2 or 3 slides. We'll see. Um, but yeah. Now, there are two different ways to do that. The first is to create a long image. You have to calculate what the width is going to be, what the height is going to be, and then you create a long image, and then you use something like Photoshop or some other tool to slice that into however many slides you want. Now that's cumbersome, and we don't always want to do cumbersome things. So as long as you keep things simple, you can actually do that without having to slice long images and whatnot. So if you check out the video once more, you'll see that the thing that I have, it's actually pretty simple. Other than, the shapes moving seamlessly from one to the next, the design is actually nothing very creative or anything like that. So as long as you keep them simple, you can actually do that with a simple Instagram post template. So I will start by creating a new design, and I will search for Instagram post. Now you have Instagram post portrait or square, it doesn't matter, whichever you choose. For this video, the video that you saw, I have a portrait template. But for this tutorial, let's just go with square for the heck of it. So this is a square image, and let's say that we will have maybe 4 different slides. I don't need to create 4 of them right now. I will create them as I go. But let's create something really simple. So this is my slide, and let's give it a background color. Maybe something like that. That works. And let's create a very simple design. Maybe I have some text, so let's add a text box right here. And I want to say something like, this is how you create an Instagram slider post. All right. Maybe change the something else. This one maybe? Sure, why not? Doesn't really matter because this is not about the text, it's about creating the slider. But, I like to make things pretty, so let's keep it that way. And maybe make it a little bigger, like so. And let's see what kind of post this is. Canva tutorial. Maybe make it even more bigger than what I have, like that. Anchor it to top, like so. All right. So this is going to be the basis of our template. So now I will start by adding elements to it. So for example, let's add a simple line first. And to add lines, I will go to shapes from elements and then add whatever there are different types of line. I will just add a straight line like so. And here's the thing that we're going to use quite a bit. Guidelines. So whenever you add an element and you start moving them around, I don't know if you can see it. Actually, let me change the background color so you can see it better. Let me make it like that, almost white. Okay, so whenever you add an element, if you notice, whenever I move it around, there are purple lines all over the place showing up, depending on where I'm moving it to. So for example, over here, it's a straight purple line across the middle of the design. It's telling me basically that you are at the your element is centered at the, in terms of horizontally, it's centered. If I move it up, over here, there's another line. It's now showing me that it's not only horizontally centered, it's also vertically centered. So you can keep doing that and it will keep showing you these guidelines. And this is the thing that we're going to make use of when we create seamless slider for Instagram. So for example, right now, this is at the very bottom margin. So as you can see, the line is now perpendicular, actually sitting on top of the very bottom margin. So I know that. So whenever if I want to add this line again, I will just have to make sure that I'm aligning it with the bottom margin. But for lines, it's a little simpler than that. You don't have to, if you have a line going across all of your Instagram templates, then all you have to do is just create a duplicate page. And to create a duplicate page, at the top right corner of the design editor, top right corner of the current page, the middle button is the duplicate page button. If you hover over it, it will show you duplicate page. The tooltip will show you that it is a duplicate page button. So if you click it, it will just create an exact replica of the page before. And so it also created that line that we added. So, lines are easy like that. If you want a line to go across multiple slides, then all you have to do is, keep duplicating the page in order to duplicate the line as well. So that's easy. That's the easy part. But what happens when we want to add shapes that are not lines and that are not that's not going to be exactly the same in each page? So for example, if I go to the example video, you see that I have different shapes, different type of shapes. So how do I do that? The line is simple. I have a line as well. But what about the shapes? All right, let's do the shapes now. Let's say that I want to add a shape in the first slide. So I will go back and choose something different, maybe graphics. So I have different graphics here. And let's say that I want to add some simple object shapes. And I chose that from the Elements panel, Elements, Graphics, and then choose Simple Objects Graphics, Simple Drawn Objects. And we have a lot of really awesome shapes here that we can play around with. So let's say that I want to add a cheese. Looks cool. So you can adjust the size, bigger or smaller, doesn't matter. You can even rotate it if you want. But remember that for the sake of this tutorial, we want to keep things simple. So don't go doing anything too crazy. So making things smaller or bigger should be okay. Rotating the shape is also okay. But yeah, that's pretty much all we're going to do. Now here's what we want to do. We want to align it by one of the guidelines so that we know what we're doing. So I want this shape to go up. Pay attention very closely to the guidelines. And I want this to be vertically centered so that I know exactly what I'm doing. And then, while it's vertically centered, and how do I know? The solid magenta line that's showing up, that's telling me that it is vertically centered now. So, with that said, I want to move it, let's say 3 or 4 times, or actually no, I want to move it exactly halfway because the goal is to keep things simple, right? So keep moving until there's a magenta line at the very right edge of the graphic or of the design of the page that's telling me that it is now exactly halfway outside of the page's border. And that's fine. So remember that we are vertically centered and exactly half of the image is now, or half of the element is now showing. All right, with that, we're going to leave it at that for here. Now remember that our goal is to create seamless slides. So the other half of this image that's not showing in the first slide is going to have to show up in the second slide, this one. So what I'm going to do is I will click it on the first slide, copy it. I will just hit Control C on my keyboard, or Command C if you're on a Mac. I'm using Windows, so it's Control C, Command C on a Mac, and that copies it, copies the element to your clipboard. Now come to the second slide, click it, select it, and then Control V to paste it. All right, Control V or Command V if you're on Mac. Now that you're here, here's the thing. On the first slide, it's on the right side. So when you create a slider, and if you want to create a seamless slider, on the second slide, this is actually going to have to come on the left, because remember that we are going to have to slide it. And also remember that for the sake of simplicity and ease of design, we made sure that this image on the first slide, it's centered vertically. And how do we know to center vertically? Because when we start moving the image around, a magenta line will show up when it is centered vertically. And also remember that in this one, it is exactly halfway, like only the left half is showing on the first slide. So in this one, the right half of the element will have to show. So keep going until the edge of the design, edge of the page turns magenta. A magenta line shows up. That means that now only the half right of the image is showing up. So like so. And just to keep things better and, make a better design, make sure that all of your text is at the very top layer. And to do that, just go to position up top, and then whichever element is selected, in this case the text is selected, just make sure to bring it to front so that our shape, the cheese shape, is now on the left, is now under the text element. Okay. Um, so now we have a seamless design, and it's difficult to see now because we're not exactly seeing the slide, but once we do, once you create a slide, it will actually show up as a seamless design. And you can do something similar with other shapes too, and not always, these things don't always have to be um, on the exactly at the center of the image. As long as you know how to, uh, as long as you remember exactly where the half of the shape is. So, for example, let's do it with another one. This time, let's do leaves. All right, let's rotate it and bring it over here. This time, what I want to do is I want the image to lie, the corner of the image to lie at the very end or at the very bottom edge of the slide, like so. And I want to move it once again. Actually, this time I'm not going to move it exactly halfway. Instead, what I want to do is I want to make sure that the corner of the element is coinciding with the corner of the page, like so, sitting at the very bottom. And then I will move it 3 clicks to the left. And I will do so by hitting the Shift button on my keyboard and then using the arrow, the right arrow on my keyboard to move it 1, 2, 3, 3 times. All right? Okay. Now, let's copy this one. And I want to get rid of this one because we don't have cheese coming from the left on the previous slide. But I do want to keep the leaves. But in this case, the leaves are going to have to be at the very right because, again, remember, we are coming from left to right. Make sure the corner coincides with the left corner of this image. And remember, we moved it 3 times to the right. So while keeping this at the first marker was the corner. So we're going to have to make sure that the corner is coincided perfectly. And with that, we will select it and then hit Shift in the keyboard and then use the right arrow key to move it 1, 2, 3 times to the right. So now this is perfectly aligned. We don't see it, but we will see it once we actually have the slider. All right. So we have 3 pages, and I think this is good enough for you to know how to do it. But just for the heck of it, let's do a third one. Let's do a flower one. And this time we will do it at the top right corner in this one. And move it maybe 2 clicks to the left this time. So hit Shift and then use the left arrow to shift it 1, 2 twice. And then create a copy. Make sure to get rid of the leaves and move it all the way to the left until it's centered. And you know it's centered because the magenta line at the edge of the page will light up. And then make sure to move it 2 clicks to the left. So 1, 2, holding the Shift button, 2 clicks to the left using the arrow on your keyboard. And that's it. So we have a nice little slider, and you can change the texts. Um, we will create a seamless slider in this post. Make sure to keep track of the magenta guides. And the last thing, I'm actually not paying attention to what I'm writing, just blah blah blah, just because of the tutorial, you know. Okay, let's keep it at that. Alright, so this is it. This is how you create a slide. Now all you have to do is download the slide, and then when you upload it on your Instagram, you just have to make sure that you're uploading it while making sure that the slides are in order. So this is going to have to be the first image on your slide. This is going to have to be the second one. This is going to have to be the third one. This is going to have to be the fourth one. So as long as you do that, it will be a perfectly seamless slide with the shapes moving seamlessly from one to the next. Alright guys, so I made that video. I captured my screen with the slider that we just created. So let's see what it looks like when you post it on Instagram. This is what it looks like. See? Perfectly seamless slider. Cool, right? And it's so simple. It's so much easier than creating a long graphic and then using a different program to chop it up and whatnot. So basically, we just made this slider, like 4 different slides, but the elements are positioned using the Canva's built-in guides and a little bit of, creativity. We created something like this. Anyway, that's the tutorial. Hopefully it was easy to follow, and I will see you with a different video, a Canva tutorial, or something else pretty soon. Bye!